I mean, it's such a great slow groove.
It's like the Delphonics. It's like the
Right?
It's crazy. I love it.
I love it too, man. Hey, what's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. I'm your host, Kiff VH, and with me in studio, the lovely, the talented, my friend, Big Kish, Andrew Kishino. Dude, thank you
so much for having me.
Oh, man, thank you for coming in, dude. This is awesome. I mean, because we've talked in the lobby, several times.
A million times.
But you're like one of the first people I met at CESD, honestly, like just hanging out.
The very first time we met was I remember you came in and I saw you and I was like, oh my God, that's that dude from the Denny's commercial that I love. and I gave you dap and I said, I love that commercial. And you had that series and that run, and I thought the execution, the delivery, and the way you did those was just bad. So I was like, I remember that exact day. That was the first day we met. And then,
right.
we share stories and crack up and do all kinds of cut up all the time in the waiting room.
Oh, it's how long have you been there?
This is it's the only place I've ever been.
Oh,
it's like family. I've been there since 2003.
Is that when you moved to Los Angeles, or
that was
how long have you been here?
Shortly afterwards?
Okay.
Shortly afterwards, yeah. So, but they were the very first agency I've been at, and because they're not only like family, in a weird way they are family.
Yeah.
So it's not in a weird way, in a good way they are like family, but that. I've always felt like I'm at home there. I've always felt like I come in there and everybody is just so wonderful and warm. Even the departments that I don't, frequent. Yeah. Everybody is just fantastic. I love them all.
I'm with you, man. I just feel comfortable. I don't feel stressed. And the other part of it too, and this is, I'd worked in a talent agency 20 some odd years ago for like 4 months. I was intern at the artist agency. It's a high pressure environment, and what I really appreciate about everybody at CESD is that even if things are jump the rails, like it's still from time to time it happens. It's work. They don't necessarily I don't know how to put it. They're always aware that clients are present, but they don't make you feel like you're isolated from it. I enjoy everybody's presence and professionalism, but it's also comfortable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the way everybody handles everything is when it kicks into that overdrive.
Sure.
Everybody has that higher gear where they're like, there is an utter confidence that everything is gonna get handled.
That's it.
It's gonna get handled.
That's right.
So it might be a little hairy, but it'll never be frantic or out of control.
That's right.
So that's the thing I think I appreciate the most, because yeah, I mean, who needs more triggers for PTSD, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Come on.
Well, that's you're going into a space, into a corporate environment to go make very emotional choices.
Absolutely.
And you need to have a sense of vulnerability and fragility, or sometimes strength, depending on what the copy is that you're tackling.
Sure, and in addition to that, there needs to be the ability to have open, honest, and frank discussions about business.
That's right.
Because my background is really the music industry, where they always say it's 90% business, 10% music.
Right.
So much as how you and I, even just in passing, have discussed where voiceover is as much about the acting as it is about knowing how to manage technology,
yes.
Be your own accountant, be your own logistics coordinator, and just to manage regular life stuff that happens,
right.
With your daughter, me with, the various idiotic things that I got going on in my life. Like, it's just crazy. Because, my life is governed, I like to joke with my friends, my life is governed by a series of unmanageable emergencies. But yeah, it is kind of that whole situation of you have to be as much a businessman as an artist.
Yeah.
And it's not an option anymore to be like, well, I don't do computers, or I'm not good with money. It is incumbent upon you to get good at those things.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely.
How did you come into that discovery? Have you ever been the kind of person who is very much like, oh man, I'm just about my flow. I'm just about this is my reality, and then all that other stuff. But it feels like you just well, I asked you the question, so I'll let you answer it rather than answering it for myself.
Well, do you how did I my beginnings,
I
or
think
what?
I'm fascinated. A couple things that fascinate me about you, is where you come from, how you came up, and
Okay.
went the transition from being a hip hop artist into this world, and both, and what that process has been like for you, and how, all that stuff.
Well, it's a circuitous route, so get comfortable. Yeah, I mean, from my origins, I mean, and we discussed this right when we walked in.
Yeah.
My point of reference, my primary point of reference is actually the music industry and hip hop music. So it's when I hear people, I get so much out of your podcast because I get so much out of people who are classically trained actors or people who have a vast body of experience or first-person experience growing up with people who were in classic movies or musical theater or things of that nature.
The guys who are like first generation,
absolutely,
like 1 degree from Kevin Bacon, like they are Kevin Bacon,
absolutely.
or they're Kevin Bacon's kid, like Phil Morris, whose dad was in the industry.
And Phil Morris that's my dude. That is Phil Morris is like my bro.
Yeah.
Fred Tatasciore, who you had on, that's my
God.
dude. Bob Joles, who told these incredibly amazing stories with such a deep catalog of people.
Yeah.
All of these people have these wonderful backgrounds that are threaded through experience in acting.
Yes.
As we all kind of talk about, I have that thing where it is largely governed by, it's like, but you're the hip hop guy who just walked in the room and you make records. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I do.
You have that sense because my background is, Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, Cool G Rap, KRS-One, Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, Public Enemy.
Yeah.
These are not only people who, I'm fans of, but people who I've had the honor to be around and work with.
God.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
my God.
So,
yeah.
I mean, where I came up, came from Toronto, and what sort of got me into music, to not sort of, I'll be as quick as I can to run through.
Don't worry about it. We got time. That's all right. I mean, and by listening to the show too, we're gonna go all over the place, and there's no direct line. Sometimes the best stuff comes out of just discussing what sparked it, in terms of music, where you want to go and what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, when I was very young, I realized that there was something wrong when I started to read. So I kind of always struggled with that and was incredibly self-conscious about it. And it made me incredibly self-conscious not only about, as being perceived as stupid, but about opening my mouth. Because in reading and in trying to figure out words, I realized later on that I was dyslexic.
Okay.
So one of the remedies that I had for that was about concurrent with that was when I discovered hip hop. And this is like, I'm not going to say the year because I'm going to say how old I am.
Right, I feel you.
I'm an old ass man. So what hip hop did, from Sugar Hill Gang, UTFO, Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, all that stuff, all those guys, what it was language presented in a way that was governed by meter and structure and pattern and pause and cadence, alliteration, assonance, all of these devices that made you suddenly go, oh, wait. And it's like, bam, and it bloomed into this set of rules that allowed me to understand language a lot better. Now, granted, it wasn't to the point where I was dyslexic where I could not read at all, but I would have instances where I would repeat pages like dozens of times because it just would not absorb because I just couldn't pick it up. Hip hop allowed me to do that. It allowed me to just sort of gravitate and organize words much more clearly, in a much more coherent, clear manner, much more quickly. So, through high school, it's like I wasn't really nurtured by the music department at my school because they were looking at me like, you gotta be, please, seriously, talking over beats. And the drama,
perception then
right,
for that type of music, that specific genre of the art form was treated as if it was completely illegitimate.
And in its seminal form, right, there are people who are always going to, there's a tremendous pushback for not only the racial element of it, but rock music is governed by melodic elements. Hip hop is governed by rhythmic elements. So the foundation and the nature of it challenges people who have, like, if you're playing Sousa marches all the time, it's like, what the hell? No, sorry. We don't have marching bands where it's like the drum line and one bass drum and that's it. We don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the drama teacher was like, I think made it a sport to sneer at me. So any kind of impetus I may have had to be involved in dramatic acting, squashed, donezo. So, graduated out of high school, barely. And right out of high school, got a job at a bank because I was like, F it, I'm going to try and make a demo and make a record.
Right.
Right around this time, and you're Grand Rapids, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your peoples are like Awesome Dre, MC Breed, Michigan dudes.
The only Michigan rappers that I had any awareness of, really, because my formative years, my influences were Eddie Murphy,
okay,
Steve Martin,
okay,
and then
I'm
Bruce.
assuming Cheech and Chong.
I never got into Cheech and Chong.
Never got into Cheech and Chong?
Never got into Cheech and Chong.
Wow.
No, it was Robin Williams, The Throbbing Python of Love, that album.
Okay.
Wild and Crazy Guy, Eddie Murphy comedian. Never really Richard, not until I got older, until I had an awareness of Richard.
Yeah, I can see, yeah.
But he wasn't my generation. And then, but musically, it was Blues Brothers. It was B.B. King.
Oh, okay.
It was Albert Collins, Buddy Guy.
Sure, John Lee Hooker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then later, like Johnny Lang, some of the younger kids coming up, and Robert Cray.
Yep.
So I was really into blues music. And then hip-hop came into my world through Public Enemy and Ice-T. Those are the two guys I listened to with some regularity.
Okay, I got an Ice-T story for you.
You got an Ice-T story?
I got an Ice-T story for you. Actually, I might have to bogart these headphones right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
These ones went south real quick.
Oh, okay.
But to continue what we were talking about,
yeah.
What happened was I got a job at a bank, went to the infamous Beat Factory studios in Toronto. Around that time, Maestro Fresh West, the Dream Warriors, Michie Me, they were all pop. They started to pop. Actually, Lil and Q's album kind of came. Actually, it was about the same time. Okay. But Wes's single, "Let Your Backbone Slide," came out, blew the whole thing up. Michie's "Victory Is Calling" on this mic had come out. They were both signed to LMR and First Priority.
Okay.
Out of New York.
Okay.
I was the first Canadian rapper signed to a major label. I was signed to A&M.
Wow.
So, yeah, which is crazy. So 91, album comes out, 91, Dream Warriors come out, and that was it. And then that was what I was doing. Never went to college, was a recording artist. Went on tour, toured with, did shows with everybody from, like you're saying, KRS-One, Ice-T, Naughty by Nature, Young MC, leaders of the new school, tons of people, Main Source. Main Source is like, those are my dudes. But yeah, while on tour, because you get a vast education about both music, money, and relationships and all kinds of stuff when you're on tour. I was doing a show when I was opening up for Ice-T. And
was this pre-Body Count?
Yeah, this is like
Power.
This is
Iceberg?
like Power.
Okay.
Iceberg. That album, right around
Played
there.
yourself.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like Speed of Light, like that stuff,
fast.
right?
It's like walking barefoot on a broken glass.
He goes. So I'm opening up for him, and he's got like DJ Aladdin's there, Africa Islam, Donald D, all those guys, all the Syndicate dudes.
Yeah.
And it's an arena show, so you're in like a change. It's like it's a changing room, right? That's what you get for your dressing room.
Okay.
And I'm just like zoning out, getting ready to go on.
Yeah.
And I'm completely spaced out because I'm just focused.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Ice walks in the room, and it's just me. Like I'm just sitting there alone, and he walks in the room, and I'm sure I said something stupid because I was so shocked. Like, can I help you? And he goes, hey, yo, homeboy, what kind of food they give you? And like, just that's it, because he's just looking around. I'm like, they gave us KFC. And I was like, he's like, okay, but what food were they supposed to give you? And I'm like, they were supposed to give us, we grew up in Toronto. There's a large West Indian contingent. So a lot of stuff I love is like curry goat, curry chicken, jerk chicken, rice and peas, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they gave us KFC. He's like, nah, that's not going to work. That ain't going to work. I'm going to handle this right now. And I'm like, okay. And he walks out. And I'm thinking, dude, I'm going on in 15 minutes. What are you going to do? 30 seconds later, there's commotion. So I go to the door ready to pop it closed. I'm thinking, okay, could be a brawl.
Right.
Could be gun butt. Could be anything. And everybody from his crew, everyone is pelting this promoter with pieces of KFC. Because he's like, I didn't know that. I didn't ask for this. This is what I asked. That little dude right there didn't get what he wanted. Bam, bam. They're just drilling this dude with pieces of KFC. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. In the fray, I may have launched one or two pieces. Just as letting that... Maybe some coleslaw. Not to disparage the fine people at KFC. You have a wonderful product.
Of course. You have a wonderful product. Popcorn chicken is one of my favorites.
And man, do you get a curveball on those pieces.
Right.
So the promoter just, and I flips out and he's like, he got pelted and was like, stop. And everyone kind of stops and they're kind of like bouncing the pieces of hand. Like, I'll let you hear what you say, but if I don't like what you say, we're going to resume the salvo, right? And he's like, he says the one thing that you really shouldn't say to a group of people of color when you have not only screwed them out of the food that you're supposed to get, but that, context dependent. Context is everything. He goes, do you know that there are starving children in Africa? There's a pause where the silence was deafening. Bam! More chicken just goes to the whole thing, and we were just like, yeah, forget it. So,
oh, man.
Yeah, it was stuff like that happen all the time. And actually it was Africa Islam who was rolling with him. That was my entree into the Zulu Nation.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I'm part of Zulu Nation.
So you're part of Zulu Nation and all that, Africa Bambaataa and all that?
All that. But
wow.
This is the thing, we were saying, this is the first podcast I've ever done. So this is stuff that nobody knows because nobody's really asked. Wow. All my people, everybody in Toronto, everybody in Toronto knows because we all came up together.
Yeah.
But as it is, here it's like I just don't. You know me. I'm generally kind of a quiet dude.
Sure.
I love to have fun with my friends and stuff,
right.
and we kick it up and what have you. But I just generally don't talk about a lot of this stuff.
I understand.
So, yeah, this is kind of the first time I've ever really kind of let it loose in like over a decade. So yeah.
Dude, that's phenomenal.
So yeah, so thank you, and that was
wow. As a fan of that, as a fan of those guys, and 90s hip hop is one of the most exciting eras of hip hop, and that transition too of some of the most social aware stuff that was going on, and the transformative nature of hip hop and its entry into popular culture, and the emergence of gangster rap changing the nature of, it struck me at a place where I had a different sense of awareness from the way the Beatles and Elvis struck my parents is the way Public Enemy challenged me to think differently about race relations in this country and the way that we interact with one another. I mean, from Grand Rapids, there wasn't anybody. The only people I knew of color had been adopted by people in my community.
And you know what's interesting as it pertains to voiceover, to draw that thread, is that at that time, and again, I don't want to sound like the old hip hop dude on the his lawn with the slippers going, you kids and your crappy young music,
right.
But so many people had different styles. De La had a different style from Chuck D. Ice-T style was vastly different from King's Son.
Yeah.
Rakim's style was different from, and you could see the people who were vastly influenced as it threaded through, but still at that time you had people who mastered language, vocabulary, and speech in a way that you saw that there were limitless opportunities of the way that you could present it. Whereas instead of the same cadence, the same style, the same what have you, the same intonation and the same whatever. Instead of, again, as it pertains to voiceover, an authentic voice, an authentic thing. And that was something that also gravitated, because like you said, at that time, there was like a feast of opportunities to be able to listen to with musical, not only the messages, but the musical styles.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful time to be right at the focal point of that.
Yeah.
And again, to be part of the beginnings of that in Toronto, where, ultimately it came to the point where, people like Drake, who is the largest entertainer in the hip hop or otherwise in the world, to be a small part of the lineage that gave birth to where it is now.
Yeah.
And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to take credit for any of that. But I'm just saying.
I feel you, but you're still part of that. You're
part of the legacy.
You're part of that nest that allows that sort of thing to emerge and to grow and be considered as a relevant source for creative energy.
Absolutely, and that is it's kind of like you just sort of like, it's like a lot of things in your life. You kind of like turn around and go, man, wow. Sometimes you feel so, like being in Los Angeles, sometimes you feel separated from that sometimes. So it's kind of like, it's why I stay in close contact with a lot of people.
I understand.
From Toronto. So
yeah.
Oh,
that's great, man.
So that was, as we were saying, that was the point of reference.
Yeah.
The point of reference was those guys.
Yeah.
So, when there are people who have point of references for voice prints of certain people.
Right.
Mine was vocabulary, intonation, voice prints of people like Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Kool G Rap, these guys. So that was kind of the entree in that. I understood it, but from a wildly different angle.
Yeah.
So came to Los Angeles in about 2000.
Mm-hmm. Chasing specifically, continuing on from, or had you transitioned out of that?
Kind of transitioned out of it because at that point, both deals got signed to A&M. They dumped me. Got signed to Sony. They dumped me. And the record industry is great for this is the other thing the record industry is great for. It's great for giving you. It was great for giving me the preamble for the ability to understand and handle rejection. So the thing is, the audition process doesn't faze me at all. I love it, right?
Yeah.
Because I can handle that. It's not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
But there was a rough patch where it was like, you, especially if you're somebody who has made records and people will know who you are.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you're like, wow, I got to get a job. I got to do these, which there ain't no shame in that. There's
Not
no
at all.
shame in nothing. There's no shame in doing anything at all. There's only a shame in doing stuff poorly. So when I went and was getting jobs, it was tough because people were like, oh, yeah, well, you Kish. Trying to get a job. It's like, you Kish, you shouldn't be working here. People be clowning me. So I was kind of like, I need a new start. I need to get out and, talking to people in the record industry, which is like an exercise in adult adolescence, because it has that sort of protracted, cemented degree of perverse delight in looking over their shoulder at you saying, you're so not part of this club. That exclusionary sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which plays later in voiceover in a positive way, not in a negative way. So transitioning out of that, I was like, I need a new beginning. Came to Los Angeles and met Vanessa Marshall.
Yeah.
Vanessa and I got married.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Vanessa and I were married. I didn't know if you had already known.
I know Vanessa from I took a workshop with Pat Fraley a bunch of years ago.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had met Vanessa. I don't know her super well, but I've always enjoyed my interactions with her. She's so funny and incredibly talented.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And just a beast on the mic. Like you can do like anything and everything. A beast.
Yeah.
Just handles biz. We got married, and at the time, I was working at a design firm, and she was like, and I built her a home studio, but this is way before anybody ever had a home. She had a home studio in ISDN long before anyone even conceived that was kind of like the thing.
Wow.
And she said, you've got all this performing experience, you've got all this artistic stuff. I think you should try this because I think it would be an outlet for you and it would make you happy. So I was initially still resolving a lot of feelings about music because, again, the music industry has a wonderful way of damaging any love that you have for anything artistic.
And just as an adjunct to that, like, I mean, my own experience, I adore the Second City and still work for the Second City, but the improv community, especially when you rise to a certain level and you get to a certain point, and then things either happen, either they're like, you know what, we're not going to renew your contract, or you get fired from something, or whatever. They decide that it's time for something else because there's more Pez in the dispenser behind you.
Right.
That it's still, like, I still work through my own issues of, being like, yeah, I'm branded, I'm part of that, but I'm not part of it. I have to protect part of myself from it. You know what I mean? So I totally understand.
Right there is what's so crucial, because if you don't do that, what ends up happening is you become basically at the mercy of what other people's kind of, not only what they think you are, but what they want you to do.
Yes.
Which is, it's funny because I have discussions, because Maestro and I talk like twice a week, and two of the things we always say is, in that same vein, is success. When people say success is the best revenge, success and revenge are mutually exclusive concepts. Success is something that is predicated on your happiness, that's built solely from a sense of joy, which can mean something as simple as, I just want a lawn that looks good, and I want two beautiful dogs, and I want to I want to walk and hike in the mountains every day.
Yeah.
Revenge is a concept that's based on retribution for righting a wrong that you perceive that happened a long time ago, in order to settle something inside your soul. So if your success is predicated on something like that, what ends up happening is, no matter how successful you are, whoever the person is who slighted you still owns you. So you can't ever let that be the case. And then the other thing we say is, we're always going to be B-boys, but it doesn't mean we can't be men. So there's a degree of responsibility that we have to conduct ourselves with in order to walk forward. And with that comes a degree of emotional maturity that we have to approach everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we slip. Yeah, we fall. Yeah, we make mistakes. Yeah, there are moments when you're standing in line at Albertsons buying like a loaf of bread and you cringe because you remember, like, oh my God, did I really say that to that individual? But we move beyond that, and we incorporate all of that. And like you said, we protect that part of our character, because that's that wonderful, beautiful mess. There was something you said in the show. It was with Rachel Butera, where you said it was like cracking everything down, and
the ball of iron, that iron ball from Princess Mononoke. Yeah,
right. And the thing that you pushed through that was so dope about that was, you said it can be a ball, or it can be a shell, that within that there's something in it that's even more beautiful when it gets cracked open.
Yeah.
So
wow,
that whole thing is such a wonderful concept that I love, because people are always going to tell you, well, you need to be this, or, Kiff, you need to lose that Midwestern accent, or you need to, there's these outdated ideas that you have where you come from that you need to shed. It's like, nah, because that's what comes out of my mouth, from in my chest, from in my soul when I speak.
Right. That's what I'm protecting, so that I can open it for a second here in front of this microphone, so that for your, I don't know what particular, let's say for your Lexus spot, that you may use a fraction of this precious joy that I have, or what it means to me to have comfort.
Sure, and exactly. And as we were saying, to jump forward, it's like when we break down and analyze copy, and we say something like, well, this is about the hunt. It's about pursuit. How you may perceive the pursuit is different from how I may perceive the suit, based on not only our life experiences, our perspectives, where we're at that moment, degree of unresolved rage, whatever, like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, that's going to all inform that, where the way you do it is going to have an authentic, beautiful energy to it, and the way I do it will hopefully have a beautiful, authentic energy to it, but they will sound different.
Yes.
They will still be emblematic of pursuit. They will still be emblematic of the hunt, but they will have things that are fundamentally different about them from a sonic level, that will make them different. That's the thing.
It's like the hunt, to my ear, sounds like feet on dirt, whereas the hunt to you is the sound of the thumping heart in the chest of the cheetah, So like that uniqueness and all those things being, I'm just summarizing because I love metaphor, but like just, looping back to that exact thing of like our different interpretation of what this unique thing is. And someone's going to come in and look at this and go, oh, this is about luxury. And they'll have no sense whatsoever that has anything to do with a hunt. But we put it together that there's a hunt that's driving a desire that drives that particular thing.
That's exactly it, because it's one of the things that that I've heard a lot of people say, where they say, like, I listen to commercials and I'm like, well, this is, that's the tone, or that's the sound, or that's, that's the tone of animation, or whatever. When you do that, In hip hop, we call that biting. Okay, you're just biting someone's style.
Yes.
I'm not going to disparage certain MCs because historically, it's like people say, "Oh, blah 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 MC sounded like blah 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 MC," right? And we all, if you listen to hip hop, and you're as old as I am, Right. So, but that thing is like the same thing. It's like if you just are emulating that sound, what you're getting is the sonic emulation of it. You're not getting an authentic emotional expression. There's something I always try to explain to people because, people are like, oh, I talk, well, I could do voiceover. Why am I not taking heavy checks to the bank? Right. And I'll be like, here's a test for you to understand sort of the emotional difference of why you have to imbue voiceover and with emotion. Go to like Six Flags or something. Stand near one of the most bananas roller coasters you can find. And listen, there will be people who will scream and they're having a good time. Then there will be people who will scream like they're going to die. Now, without any training, primally, viscerally, you know how to differentiate those. It's our job to tap into that in a moment and reproduce it.
Yeah.
So sonically, from a pitch, from a volume, they may be almost identical. But there's something about those sounds that's different enough that triggers our brain to go, that person's really screaming like they're going to die. They need help.
Yeah.
That's why it's not an intellectual exercise to say, I got to sound like this person. I got to emulate the sound. I got to copy this thing. It's icing. You need cake. Otherwise, it's icing on a balloon. And that balloon's going to get popped.
Yeah.
It may carry you a little bit, but it won't give you a degree of authenticity where, as I've heard you say many times, where they throw a redirect at you, it's like, well, all I know how to do is this sound.
Mm-hmm.
They're like,
yeah.
The rye thing, it's not really working. Can we make it sort of all out, just not so sarcastically funny and just kind of lighthearted? And you're like, I
practiced it doing this impression of so-and-so.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And then you're left with, I got nothing. I got a bag of rocks.
And that and facing that reality is enough to make you go, I need to go figure out exactly what my cake is, or where my cake is. How am I feeling it?
Absolutely.
I came at this work from an ear place.
Right, I've heard you say you're from mimicking.
I'm a mimic, So that was my trick. And I needed to figure out how I could take a piece of copy, take a piece of direction, regardless of whether it's promo or narration or an animated piece, and figure out where that truth lies in me so I can ring that tuning fork and let that emulate the truth outwardly so that when you're listening to it, you respond to it.
That's it, because it's got to resonate on a visceral level.
Yeah.
It's funny because the thing is, you know me. What I'm like.
Right.
It's just me, right? To quote Pos, and forgive me for anybody's listening, there's going to be a lot of hip-hop references in this show. Pos from De La Souls, like my pants always sag and I walk with a bop. I'm a private person, Rakim. It's like we knew everyone was there, we had a get-together last week, and we knew everyone was there except the black sheep. Like, there's certain elements that are woven into my character that, exactly like you said, when I open my mouth, it has a degree. There's just me. Yeah. It's just me. So to do anything to deviate from that, to bend my voice around in another way, or to accompany or try to fit something else in my chest is inauthentic.
Right.
Obviously, there are going to be things about my diction, diction, accent, projection, whatever, pitch, that are going to change. Those are mechanical.
That's right.
The motivation behind those things, as it is with rhyming, is like, I can tell when someone's like, you write all these bananas blazing rhymes with a billion compounds, and it's like, yeah, it sounds good. But when you hear somebody who has written something so powerful, like, for example, Melly Mel on The Message,
mm-hmm.
the gripping emotional nature of what he says during that whole verse, which is arguably one of the best verses ever written by anybody, which details birth to death of somebody who is swallowed up by the ghetto. That gives you goosebumps. if somebody else said that same passage, it wouldn't resonate the same way. The words may sound the same. They might do a good Melly Mel, like they may do a really good impersonation of Melly Mel.
Right.
But it ain't going to be the same. In voiceover, people say at the water cooler every given day 1,000,000 times, in a world.
Right.
But there will only be one Don LaFontaine.
Right.
And there was only one individual, Don, who could weave a story like he did. So people may match the pitch. They may match the inflection, which they do a lot.
Yes.
And there are dudes, again, here's my competitive hip-hop nature coming out, but yeah, there's mad dudes who've had careers over bagging off of him, copying his style, bless the dead, and that's all they do. They don't have a read. What they have is bad knockoff, like swap meet Don LaFontaine. You know what I mean? So people go in and like, in a world, and they're doing that, and it's like, bruh, you don't have it. That's not authentic. Right. You aren't weaving the story. Animation, commercial, narration, trailer, promo, even industrial.
Yes.
You have to tell something that you have to own the words. They're yours.
I do a fair amount of voice matching, and as someone who's got to match, what helps me in those moments where it's like, we need you to sound just like Tom Hanks in this moment.
And you're bad as hell, dude. I've heard you. You did that Vince Vaughn to Tom Hanks thing. That stuff was bad. That was bad. You do it now. Do it now.
All right, fine. So, all right, listen, because if this is the first episode you're checking out, hi, this is Vince Vaughn, okay? And if you're doing a Vince Vaughn, all you have to do is just slow it down a little bit, put a tie on, and it's Tom Hanks. That's how you got to Tom Hanks. That's how you
that was so bad.
And the cool thing is, like for me, that's just me. That's my skill set and finding and playing with that. But George Lucas said on a special years ago about Star Wars that a special effects without a good story is a pretty boring thing.
Hell yeah.
And I think the same thing is true when it comes to impressions or mimicry, like you're saying, that if it's just the mimicry, then it's like, okay, that's cool. That's a card trick. But like when it comes to voice matching and stuff like that, like I was telling somebody the other day, I forget exactly who it was, but it was like, Tom's not available to do the rest of what this character, how this character is needed. So it's my duty to step up and match what he's been doing to the best of my ability, but play the character. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing Tom Hanks in this trailer. I'm doing
Tom Hanks
Robert
playing.
I'm doing Robert Langdon. It's just that the character's been established by Tom Hanks, and I've got to help out finish that particular piece of material.
Absolutely.
And that helps me figure out what my intention is, what my motivation is, what the choices are. I just have to work within the vocal restriction of playing in this space.
Right. And as you've said on many occasions, the technical aspect is a whole, it's like going to the gym.
That's right.
It is like going to the gym. But like martial arts, like Phil Morris is saying, it's like, that's a whole other separate area of the discipline. And that's the one I think what separates in the game of inches. That's what separates the people who are like the real MCs, the real voiceover people, the real singers, the real whatever, is with any amount of training, people can emulate any kind of sound.
Right.
But when you lay that stuff down and it's like, well, oh man, I felt that. That's a different thing. There's a reason why. Because it's the same thing even with technical stuff. People go bananas over technical stuff at their home studio. And it's like, man, go listen to I Want You Back by the Jacksons. Nobody would accuse that of being an audiophile recording, okay?
Right.
But nobody would say when that recording comes on, you get goosebumps.
You absolutely do.
It's 50 years old, and you still go, oh, my God. And he sings. You can hear parts where Michael's distorting the mic. And you're like, oh, my God. But that doesn't matter because what is captured on that iron oxide tape is magic.
Yes.
So it's like, worry less about your Avalon VT 737S, whatever that's, going to give you, odd and even harmonic distortion at your choice per the whatever. That doesn't matter because even from a technical aspect, all of those things are all adjusted in post. Our job is to give the vocal performance clean.
Right.
So
a bad read on a good mic is the same as a bad read on a bad mic.
Oh, listen. Am I allowed to swear on this?
I'm trying to play clean.
I'll play
clean. So go ahead and summarize.
No, I'll play clean. Nobody ever remembers a perfectly recorded crappy song. everybody will bump a badly recorded great song.
How much do we come up on dub after dub of a dub?
Oh, please.
Where someone gives you a cassette tape and they gave you the copy off of somebody else's copy from someone else's original copy.
Oh, my God.
And it's still...
You're like jamming it. You're jamming
That's
that
right.
thing. Jamming it. Jay, you be like in there with the big pen, like trying to thread that bad boy after it got chewed to hell in your, in your tape deck, and you'd be like, it's still good, still good.
Still good. It's just the warbles for this
still
part.
Good. Yeah, that's good. And you hear like my melody, Eric B. and Rakim. I came in the door. I said it before. All that stuff is recorded on an SM58 in a 1-inch 8-track in Marley Marl's apartment in Queens. No soundproofing. But that record's like, oh my God, you lose your mind.
Yeah.
You lose your mind. So it does always circle back to that thing of the authenticity of the performance is what drives everything.
So as we're talking through this and figuring that out, where did that realization, how did those dots connect for you in the world of going from your experience leading up to Vanessa saying you should do this and you're getting copy and you bring that what you just said to pieces of copy? What was that process like for you?
Well, the first realization was easy because I sucked. And that kind of was like, okay, great, ground floor. Nowhere to go but up from here.
Right.
And as many people who, in our field who are interdisciplinary, right, music or stand-up comedy or improv or what have you, there is that period of trepidation of crossing that. You have a vast skill set in one area, but you have to learn how to translate and interpolate that into a new area.
Yeah.
So when you then step into that arena, there is obviously, is apprehension because you're like, I got this well-oiled thing that I know how to do. And there's comfort in going back to those things. So striking out into another thing is like, you have to be, if you're willing to be great, if you want to be great, you have to be as willing to be terrible.
Yes.
You have to face plant a bunch of times. And Lord, did I face plant. My mom's like, you ain't cute, so you might as well be clever. I ain't getting no ugliest, so it's be like, cool. But I face planted many, many times, but it was gratefully in rooms with people who were I took classes at Calvinson.
Great.
I was incredibly fortunate to take a class with Andrea Romano, who is... I'm convinced she is aging in reverse too.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I took classes with Dave Walsh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Dave's my dude. Dave's a great dude.
Awesome.
And I took about 1.5 years of classes because I also was like, voiceover is an incredibly nuanced, specific craft. I will disrespect that craft if I got one class of, where's my demo? I'm ready to get signed. Let's do this, right? Which many people are because they think, I run my mouth at work and make funny voices and do stupid stuff. And yeah, okay, I'm ready to make my money. And it's like, I get vexed when I see people slide into hip hop and I'm like, man, this dude's garbage.
Right.
And we got to call garbage what it is. So in that same respect, I had to attribute the same level of respect and dedication and application to before I even approached that. And then when I did, had completed a bunch of courses and felt comfortable enough to do it, got signed. Kathy Lizio, who was our agent at CESD, said I would like to take you on and let me introduce you to everybody here. Introduced me to everybody at CES, at that time was CED.
Okay.
Got signed, and there it was.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing ever since. That's what I've been doing ever since. And there are times, honestly, where I'll be like, I've been in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sessions or Spider-Man sessions or, even doing the Lion Guard now where I'll stand there and I have a moment where I can look around and be like, man, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Because there's so many instances this stuff could have gone left and it didn't. So it's like I have that moment where I'm incredibly grateful. Like I'm standing next to like my John DiMaggio, who's like a brother to me, right?
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, it's John.
Yeah.
Phil Lamar, Scott Menville, Rob Paulson.
Yeah.
Vanessa, obviously, Kari Walgren, Gray Delisle, people of immense talent. and long history, not only in voiceover, but in so many other disciplines.
Yeah.
And I just kind of have that moment where sometimes I have that flush of like, should I be here? And then I'm like, bruh, it's almost like I talk to my 6-year-old self and I go, bruh, you got this.
Yeah.
It's okay. You know, you didn't, if I'm talking to you now, I know you reside in there and you always will, but I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. You will be good because you did not walk this path. You did not stare down the barrel of a gun. You have not been stabbed. You have not gone through these things where you've beaten the crap out of promoters backstage before hitting the stage. You've not had battles on stage. You've not, questioned why you do music, why you do voiceover, what your purpose is in life to get to this moment, this spot in front of this mic with these people and crap the bed because you're stronger than that.
That's right.
You're built of something different than that. And not in a way where I'm gorilla beating my chest, but you're built of something that is the sum total of these things that make you stronger than that.
Yeah.
The doubt is smoke. The ironclad stuff is the actual thing. Knock on it. It's going to ring. It's there. Believe it. And that's what I kind of reside in. There's always every moment where I'm just like, man, thank you. Thank you. Because there could have been so many other outcomes that were so different.
Yeah.
So yeah. I love it. I love it.
That moment, I've been in front of enough microphones, not to get jaded, but to have a sense of feeling like I'm cool or like that came out weird. Like feel like I'm standing there.
I know what you're saying.
I could walk into LA Studios for a session and not be tripping out about being at LA Studios, and just kind of like, it is what it is, and it's cool, and I'm in here and we're doing a thing and it's great.
Plus, they have great food. So
plus, they really do.
The fridge is stocked
the fridge, coffee,
like an MF.
Everybody every studio in town has that unique, personality to it, and I really love going to LA Studios just because of. I always run into folks in the lobby, and it's just cool.
But not to diverge from your point. I mean, I didn't mean to throw you off track.
No, that's all right.
The thread, I hear where you're going.
But it was doing that session I told you about earlier before we got on the microphone.
Right.
Last week, where I was standing there in front of the microphone, I had just done a read, and I was in that silent place where they're playing it back, and you don't hear anything, and I looked down, and I'd been at Salami before. I'd been in that room before. I remember looking down and going and saw like this peak, and I was standing on top of it. It was like right now, this moment, just for a second, you're standing on the top of the mountain doing this job. And that sense of gratitude for the past version of myself and the people surrounding in the toothpaste tube around me squeezing, know what I mean?
The people that helped, like Mr. Rogers, bless Mr. Rogers, the people who loved and helped you into existence.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That moment is this precious moment that I'll never forget.
And this is the thing. This is why, for me, and anybody who knows like my curmudgeonly side, this is the kind of thing I rail on, is like those are moments exactly like you said that should inspire gratitude and humility.
That's right.
Because I could be doing a lot of other stuff easily. Because it's as easy as somebody saying, you know what, you're not right for this. We're actually going to switch you out. And dunzo, get your stuff and get out.
Right.
You don't even get a pat on the ass on the way out.
Right.
Done. Okay? And again, not to disparage, but I see people who, take it lightly. Yeah. And it's like, bruh, you cannot take this lightly at all. Try a day of hard labor. You be back up in here to be like, can I polish the mic stand too? Because I'll do that.
Have a couple days where you don't have auditions come into your mailbox, and then you're like,
and it starts to shake. It starts to shake your whole thing.
That's right.
It is that sense of there is no way you can be entitled. I mean, it's another phrase that I got is you got to stay as composed as a professional, but as hungry as a rookie, because you have to go in there like, I'm gonna eat everybody's lunch in this friggin' room. Period. But I'm going to carry myself in that way because it has to be that way. It's like, if I may expound.
Yes, please.
It's like the whole thing about branding and all that stuff, how people are saying like, oh, now it's like, you got to brand yourself because that's what's going to move you forward. It's good. You got to brand. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's like, listen, don't nobody want to see a plagiarized corporate logo with your name on it that's been altered slightly so that you're like, oh yeah, because you branding yourself to people who sell things for a living. Right. Ice to Eskimos, B. Come on, man. So to me, it breaks down to the P's. The P's are be polite, be punctual, be professional, play well with others, have perspective about your career. Practice, those are the things that will get you where you need to go, because those are you want when somebody walk in the room. The one of the greatest compliments you can receive is whether it's fellow actors or directors or producers or whatever. They look at you and their shoulders like kind of relax a bit and they go, "Oh man, I love this guy or I love this girl."
Yeah,
because that's somebody who they have a fluid working relationship with, who they know that they are in partner with to get the best thing going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're somebody who's rolling in and it's like, I ain't looking at nobody, I don't talk to anybody, my phone is on for the whole time, and I'm,
Right.
whatever. Yeah, you may be able to pull it out of your six-hole, but you're not going to be the person, there comes a limit where if somebody can kind of surpass you or is nipping at your heels, you better believe that, like the NFL, it's like, hey, you were a great running back, but there's this new kid coming out of college, and you're on waivers now.
That's right.
So that's why. You saw that viral video that was going around that there was somebody in the booth and they were making fun of the voiceover direction.
Oh yeah, I did.
You see whatever?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm always kind of on the fence about stuff like that because I'm kind of like, it ain't like we as actors don't do things that are kind of like, okay, yeah, I got a hand up. I do stupid stuff too.
Right.
But one of the things I don't do that I kind of, and again, on my soapbox for a minute, one of the things I don't ever do, I never have my phone on in a session. Yeah. Never. That bad boy is off and in my bag. And anybody who knows me knows I cop a nickel defense, strong safety in the box stance, left foot forward, right, ready to go, standing up the whole time.
Yep.
Because the way I see it is when Sumit Iyengar, Bo Oliver, Pat Brady, Kathy Lizio, Vinny Buono have done that work to get me in that room.
Yeah.
I am going to make them look great because I'm going to show and going, I didn't come to read. I came to eat this place alive. Okay? Because it's born from that gratitude of being, I love doing it, but also it's like, that's the perspective I have to have.
Yeah.
And what the hell is going to be on my phone that's more important than what I got in front of my face?
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Now, I can only speak for myself. Again, not trying to disparage anybody, but I can only speak for myself.
No, you're right.
I can't have my concentration split in that manner and then do my job effectively. So I have to honor the opportunities that have been given to me in the same way I honored the people who have, like we were saying, cared and loved and helped me into existence by showing up every day going, I'm about to put my foot in the ass of this day. Yeah. Because growing up, my friends, my siblings, the people who have cared about me have wanted those things for me. So I can't go back on those things by half-assing stuff.
Right.
I got to come through and be like, oh no, I'm going to put the hammer on it. So, which by the way is, if you ever see me and I look kind of, that dude is like, man, he don't talk to anybody. He doesn't like me or whatever. It's like, that's just me.
And I never get that sense. And it's interesting to me, like, in particular in the lobby of any given audition space, you can be focused and polite.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So many people will either be like, I'm an extrovert. I love a room full of people, and we'll start talking about Suicide Squad and how I love Suicide Squad and all that other stuff, and then go in the room and do some heartbreaking hospital copy. Because I've prepped and I know where I got to go.
There it is. And the thing is, I don't take it personally if somebody be like, hey, listen, you my man $50,000, but shut the hell up. I got to go look at this cop. Right. I don't take it personally.
Right, exactly. I'm here to work. I'm not here to hang. I'm here to get my stuff together.
Do your thing, right? And I totally agree with that. And that is But that is something where it's like, yeah, that's me. I mean, I can't remember who it was. Somebody else was on your podcast, and they said, this is not a bit. It may have been David Sobolov, who was a dear friend of mine.
Oh, he's so.
I love that guy.
I love David.
Not only wildly talented, but just such a genuine, authentic person.
Man.
David is like, this is not a business for people who are shrinking violets or wallflowers. Externally, I come off that way sometimes because I'm like, yeah, I don't really sort of go to a lot of events and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is that thing of like that same thing of when it's time to turn it on, believe I'm going to come in there. Give me your lunch. Like I'm going to come in there and I'm going to handle business.
That's right.
So yeah, it's that thing of if I'm not talking to you, it could very well be because I'm just focusing. It ain't because I hate you.
Right.
Because if I hate you, you're going to know about it. Just kidding. But not really.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Dude.
that was. Oh, there was something I wanted to actually. How much time we got left?
We have a handful of time, not a ton. We've got maybe 5 or 6 minutes left.
That's it?
I know. It goes by so fast, and I bleed over a little bit, but I don't want to get in trouble with Gabe. And but tell me, it's all right. I can buy an extra couple minutes.
There was this. I mean, the one thing I want to talk about that also the G.K. Bowes touched on, which was the just sort of even now, because it seems sort of even vaguely apropos now, is the whole thing about like even just urban as a description and copy.
Yes.
And how that can be
the codified language.
The codified language, yeah. I mean, because even that, as it pertains to me, I mean, I can't tell you how many times people will see me. They'll hear my voice, and then they'll see me and they go, "Oh, I thought you were taller and bigger," and then there's a pause because you know what they're about to say, and I'm like, "Sorry to disappoint. I don't know what to tell you."
Right,
but. It is that thing of like, and I'm glad to see like shows like Queen Sugar come on the air, or Atlanta and stuff like that, because it shows a greater degree of diversity in portrayal of people of color, all colors, a like LGBT community, everything.
Right.
It's to show it so that things don't get compartmentalized into like, well, who's the lead? Well, he was a guy, he's a blue-collar dude from Chicago and sold everything and divorced his wife and started a llama farm in North Carolina, and he's a fish out of water in a world he never made. It's like, oh, and that's a sidekick? What's his deal? Oh, he's urban. And that's all you get. Right. And so I'm just sort of glad to see now there is a broadening, because I do fit in that. I identified strongly with what she said because I fit in that category of other. People kind of squint at me frequently and go, is he light-skinned? Is he Italian? Is he what? Is he Spanish? Like, what's his deal? And that I even get some stuff projected upon me sometimes by people who will, they say things to me like, you're trying to sound this way. Or it's like, you're not black, or you sound this way, or whatever. And it's like, I can't even get into the whole how that's like a projection of something else upon me.
Right. Someone having the balls to sit here and tell you about you based on what they think, how you fit their stereotype in their head.
Right. And it says also a lot about how they just in a general sense perceive that particular whether it's black people or it's like, okay, well now I get an idea how you see that.
Right.
Because if it can be defined and compartmentalized in something so simple, then I know how you see this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is that thing that I'm just glad to see that it's broadening in that sense, that there's a wider array of not only opportunities, but just the depth of portrayal, where it's not something that's kind of like you're relegated to, just the corniest kind of whatever. And also the fact that it's like we can spread our voices and spread our wings from an acting standpoint.
That's right.
And really kind of lean into some. So it isn't just something it's like, oh, this just sounds so rote and trite and played and paved over 1,000 times.
Right.
Because I mean, here's the thing, where I come from, the majority of black people have West Indian accents. So it's like a whole other cultural thing.
Yeah.
Right. So even that is like, it's a crazy, crazy thing that I'm glad the tide is, however slowly, it is turning.
Yeah, I agree. And you sense it. And, it's funny. I remember talking to, You remember Kara? We used to be
Yeah,
the
Kara,
girl
yeah.
over at CESD.
Yo, Kara's from Scarborough.
Yeah.
Kara's from Scarborough. So she went to school with dudes who I know. Like,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah, it's crazy. So it's like she starts like shouting out. It's like, yeah, Danny O, YOK. It's like she's like, yeah, those are my people. We starts Cataracty, Malvern, start shouting out these neighborhoods and stuff, and it's like, damn. Yeah, so it was pretty crazy.
There's that expectation of the codified language of people looking at her and going, "Oh, you African American," and she goes, "No, I'm Jamaican Canadian."
Yeah, thank you. Exactly.
He's like, before you start making assumptions based on this, you lump me into an area. She's not that I wouldn't be proud to be African American, nothing against that, but don't make assumptions based on that. We came up. I mean, I don't know precisely how old you are, but I know what I value programmed on, being shows like The Jeffersons,
sure,
and shows Sanford and Son, and I mentioned some of my comedic influences early on. So that gave me a sense of. It gave our generation a sense of why can't this is normal.
Well, and here's the thing, even more to the point, stuff like, because there's a lot of friends who I have in New York who are Dominican or Puerto Rican or stuff like that. Out here, when you say Latino, they default to Cholo. I mean, Eric Lopez was killing me when he was doing it. I was laughing so hard, and that's like my bro. I love that guy.
Eric is the best.
But he will tell you the same thing, where it's like, but if you say Latino in New York, that Puerto Ricans don't sound like that. And so people get confused because what you get is that kind of hands coming forward in that strained tone of like, no Latino or no urban. It's like, bruh, you got to come through and say what it is you mean.
Yeah.
Or it's like, no, because
I'm here to give you what you want.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be all polite about it. Be respectful. No.
But also, like, pick something specific. Because if you were saying that, it's like, yeah. So that I'm just glad that there's a broadening of the awareness of people who, let's be quite honest, should have been aware a long time ago. But,
agreed.
There's a broadening of that is allowing for a real beautiful flourishing in entertainment that's coming out. It's just great to see right now.
I agree. It's exciting, and it's exciting and comforting right now. In particular, the political season's insane, and to be able to have at least our popular culture reminiscent to me of that time in the 70s where there was so many more options, so many different producers. The way Atlanta is blown up as a production center has just provided so many more voices to be heard. And people are more excited and interested in nurturing and monetizing it. And it makes me as a father of a child who's got a black mom and a white dad to feel like I have a place in this world.
Hell yeah. As you do, I do, your daughter does, everybody does.
We all do.
And that's that sense of feeling, to circle it around and bring it back, of that whole thing of protecting that iron ball, protecting that sense of yourself is never foregoing that. Not twisting or warping it to say like, yeah, I guess I got to do the sort of shuffle and step for, whatever, kind of hackneyed sort of thing of what you see me to be, which you'll be offended if I don't do. Is kind of like, nah, you know what? I am what I am.
Right.
And I don't deviate from that because ain't nothing going to make me deviate from it.
Right.
Because if I lose that, I got nothing. Wait, I can say nuts, right?
You can say nuts. I
okay,
said nuts.
Yeah, it's the only thing I got in my life is my nuts and my word, and that's it. So if I deviate from those, well, I'm wordless or nutless, and that's not a way to live.
That's right.
You can't be that way.
There's a woman named Sally Hogshead who I saw at a conference. She wrote a book called Fascinate about how the world sees you and about what different personality types and that kind of stuff. But she's one of her little headline things that I've carried with me is don't be 100% perfect, be 100% you.
Oh, Grace Jones, I'm not perfect, but I'm perfect for you. It's that the passionate love of the deep flaws that we have.
Yes.
And if you have a passionate love of self-awareness, then you're good. Then you're really, really good. That's when things get real magical. But yeah, that's the thing. And that's where it's like, as it pertains to voiceover, you could have somebody who does great Don LaFontaine.
Yep.
They could do a great commercial read, whatever. But if they have nothing inside, nothing, as you know, and again, like Amanda Troop said, I think it was on your podcast, it's like if you don't have things that you do outside, things that nourish you and create, and you don't have touchstones to things that where you come from, what makes you what you are, then you ultimately are just a shell making noise. And what you want to be is a beautiful, living, breathing human being saying your truth. You know, that's the reality. That's what voiceover is really all about.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, and if you ain't down for that,
well,
that's what it is.
That's right. Andrew, Kish, dude, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show. This was just enlightening and yeah.
Dude, I can't. I'm so amped because it's my absolute first podcast.
Well,
so
I hope it shouldn't be your last. I hope you get to do way more. I'd love to have you back sometime and just to continue this conversation or to see what new and exciting discoveries come down the road.
Absolutely, or get me and Eric and get a couple of us in the room at the same time.
That would be a blast.
That'd be dope.
I've got something in the works. I'm hoping to do something at Kamikaze. So I've pitched that. It might be a fun live event sort of a thing. But we'll see what's going on. But.
Nice, man. I really am honored, and I really deeply appreciate you putting me on here. It means a lot. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
I got 30 seconds. What's something that you got that's running right now that you would like people to check out? I loved you in Killing Joke, by the way, which was freaking awesome to be a part of that thing.
Thank you. That was amazing. Right now, currently playing Janja, the lead villain hyena on the Lion Guard.
Awesome.
A couple of video games. Can't talk about those. Of
course.
But yeah, that's having a lot of fun playing Janja, and you can hit me up on Twitter at @big_Kish. All kinds of crazy things that I be saying, everything related to music, voiceover, and just life in general. Instagram is @spherical, and it's spelled SPHERYKAL. You can hit me up and see the. I don't know. I don't really take pictures of food.
No.
So yeah, it's just records and stuff like that. If I'm at Home Depot, I'm taking pictures of what I'm buying at Home Depot. That kind of thing.
Oh man, big_Kish on Twitter and say it one more time, Spherical.
Spherical. It's just spelled funky. Yeah.
You got it. No problem. Awesome, dude, brother. Thank you again so much for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Thank you for joining us on All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. Please take a moment to review the show and let other folks know what you thought. And if you dug it, please subscribe. Follow the show on Twitter at AllOverVO and check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/AllOverVO with Kiff VH. That's it for this time. You get what you get and don't get upset. Claim victory and depart the field.